Okay. Are we live? Wow, this is great. I want to welcome everyone to the live stream. I think we're streaming the very first debate of the 2020 season for the candidates who are running for Oakland School Board. Wow, the words aren't just coming out. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're just a few seconds away from starting. I just want to quickly say, democracy happens when candidates run for public office in a free election. That's literally that's the cornerstone of democracy. And so I'm so grateful that the candidates who have filed so far their intention to run for school board in Oakland have joined us here. This is a citywide debate, districts across the city, 1, 3, 5, and 7. And I want to say this is just the first of many conversations. This conversation has been sourced from the community through questions and comments. So thank you, everyone who's participated. Thank you, everyone on the team, Ben and Jessica and Max and Viola and Betty for helping put this together. So without further ado, welcome, everyone. I want to introduce you to someone really special. This human being is only a junior at Skyline and yet seems to already kind of be running the city. Part of many of our organizations. She actually was part of a tweet that that managed to get the city $10 million of funding for digital access. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Jessica Ramos, who will get us started.
Thank you, Josh. It's a privilege just to be part of this. It's an honor to be part of this. As a student leader, it's always been amazing to be part of this and have all these different experiences, but not just that, have the community be involved. And as Josh said, that, democracy is a big thing, especially during these times. And just having this first debate for all this Oakland School Board, it's amazing. Many students have been very involved with just being part of their school board, being part of democracy, being part of having their voice out there. And, as just today, we have great news. The youth vote has passed and will be going into the November ballot. So this is an amazing time for also candidates to express their feelings on how they're feeling about that. And not just that, to get to know your candidates as students and as parents and as educators to see what is the future of Oakland. So now please welcome Viola Gonzales, who is a longtime resident of Oakland and was a former Oakland School Board member. She is an amazing, amazing person. Let me tell you, she is one of my inspirations. Right now, she's a member of the Health Foundation, I believe, and she's going to kick us off today and lead it all for today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Thanks goes to the many thoughtful residents that made the effort to sit down and ask their questions, to the candidates that share their perspectives, and for all of you that join us this evening in this grassroots effort. Our intent is to help the public gain perspective on the candidates and for the candidates to have an early opportunity to present their case. I hope that all the candidates take the time to review all the questions that have been posed at the website, oaklanddebates.com. Everyone should be encouraged to reach out directly to each candidate, or if you are unsure as to where you should direct your question, please email to debateoakland@gmail.com. From the larger pool of questions submitted, we distilled them to 4. Now, let me explain our process. We're going to go for 4 rounds, 1 for each question. You have 2 minutes to answer each question. Betty will let you know when you have 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and then to stop. When you hear the bell ring, you know it is the next candidate's time to start. If time permits, we will ask that each of you take 1 minute for closing statement where you can include anything that you think the public should know about you and or your ideas. All right. We start now with round 1. Why you? Who are you? Why should voters support your candidacy? How does your plan to finance your campaign reflect your personal values? Many of the questions, the community wanted to know, what are the sources of funding that you would never accept, for example? If so, why? Why not? But along those veins. If we could please have Sam start first. Thank you.
Thank you, Viola, and thanks so much to the organizers of this event and to everybody tuning in this difficult moment because you care about our schools. I'm Sam Davis. I'm a former Oakland teacher and a parent in District 1. We've seen our society just stop on a dime and change everything to prevent COVID-19 infections, right? So if we feel the same urgency about fixing OUSD as we do about this health crisis, there's nothing we can't do if we work together. On the flip side, we've also seen distance learning lay bare the economic divide in our education system, even more than usual, and how that gap gets worse when kids can't go to school. So supporting classroom learning should obviously be at the center of every decision in our district. When I was working on the Manzanita campus, I saw educators pouring their hearts into their work, helping students overcome tremendous disadvantages from racism and poverty. These folks were working miracles, but their efforts were undermined by district bureaucracy, dysfunction, and budget cuts. Families and educators at school sites are the ones who are most in touch with what our students need to be successful. That's why parents like me joined with Faith in Action East Bay to advocate for protecting school sites when the board has made budget cuts. And that's also why I've been talking and listening to parents and staff at all the District 1 public schools about the issues in OUSD and why I'm running for school board. As an elected member, I will remain dedicated to transparency, communication, and promoting equity in education, the same values I have promoted throughout my time in working in the Oakland Public Schools. On the second question about financing, our democracy only works when it is free of the influence of wealthy outsiders. So my campaign has and will be based on grassroots fundraising. I won't accept any support from the groups that depend on money from billionaires, such as the GO Political Action Committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, our next, Alicia Johnson, please.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be with you this evening. My name's Alicia Johnson, and I'm a parent to a 7- and 9-year-old who attend Oakland Public Schools. About me, I was born and raised in East San Jose, and I come from a long line of supporters of public education and people that taught me to fight for equity and justice. My husband's family was involved in the civil rights movement in integrating schools and fighting for equal rights. And my grandparents organized the Cal State Employees Union, fighting for fair wages and good working conditions. I began my official public service as an after-school manager in the city of San Jose, and that's when I decided to get my master's in public administration. And I went on to work for the mayor of San Jose. Currently now, I'm a full-time volunteer at my kids' school. Have been on the executive board of the PTA, and I ran a solidarity school during the teacher strike that was featured in the Chronicle. Most importantly, I spent all my free time fighting for the safety and solidarity of students in Oakland. But most importantly, I'm a mom. It's the greatest joy and the greatest challenge of my life, and I take it very seriously. And I know that if I'm elected to represent the children and families in Oakland, that I will take that job just as seriously. My campaign funding will represent my values, which are kids, teachers, and community. And I have vowed not to take any corporate money or from charters. I will run a grassroots campaign from the bottom up, full of small dollars with community members that support me and want to see me elected in Oakland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next person up, Charisse, if you would please come up next.
Hi, my name is Sharice Gash, and I'm running for school board in District 3. I'm a long-term native and a generational resident of District 3, and I'm also a former student of OUSD, and my son is currently a senior in OUSD. I come from a long line of educators for many generations. My mother was a teacher, and so I literally grew up in a middle school. And so my early volunteer experiences had to deal with school sites and libraries, and just being a student that was very aware of the actions that were happening towards teachers and parents and students in other districts. So I'm so very concerned for our students here in Oakland, and that's why I'm running. I believe that we have to support each and every one of our students, and I believe in the power of our students and the perseverance of our communities and our families, and the perseverance of education and the equity of education. I have also volunteered with African American Male Achievement Program and the Hidden Genius Project. I've been able to travel with my son, who has been able to speak in different conferences as COSBOC, and through his eyes and being able to witness him being able to interact with other students across the country and hearing their shared experiences about education and how to educate young Black males in the school sites, it's given me a great perspective on how to support our students here in Oakland. As far as for funding, I am a stark believer in public schools. I will not accept any donations from Go, Educate 78, or Reach. It will be all from our grassroots community organizers, our families, and our communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If we could have Maya, please come up next.
Good evening. My name is Maya Edgerly, and I am running for school board for District 3. And a little bit about myself. I'm a third generation Oakland educator. My father was a high school science teacher at Castlemont High School. My grandmother was also a librarian at Webster's Elementary School and Lafayette Elementary School. And I actually run a nonprofit organization called the Onyx Scholars, where it's an HBCU, Historical Black Colleges and Universities College Readiness Program. And I've also, and the reason why I am running for 3rd District, for one, I'm a 3rd generation West Oakland resident. And I dedicated the last 6 years of my life helping students, especially disenfranchised students, be able to have access to educational resources for college, for technology. And I actually have done outreach programming in the STEM programming with Merritt College. And reason why I want to run is that with the wake of COVID-19, we have seen disparities at its finest. And I believe, as being a person who's grown up here in this neighborhood and who has been a 3rd generation individual who's seen everything for many years, it's going to take someone who is innovative, who could coming from the nonprofit sector, that's going to come up with innovative strategies to put various communities together, because right now, Oakland needs a sound leadership that is authentic and who can speak for unrepresentative students. And as far as my campaign is concerned, my morals will reflect my fundraising and funding opportunities. My grassroots campaign will surely be grassroots, and I won't accept any outside funding. Everything will be self-made fundraising from the community only. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mark, please.
Hi, I'm Mark Hurdy. I first moved to Oakland in 1968. I attended Joaquin Miller Elementary School, Montera Junior High School, and I graduated from Skyline High School. After high school, I met my wife when we both worked as teacher's aides at Thornhill Elementary School. I took a year off of college and worked as a teacher's aide before I started school. I grew up in a family of teachers and preachers. And after, most of my aunts and uncles were either a teacher or a preacher. And after spending 20 years working in technology and the arts, I felt I needed to get into the family business. So I took a job 10 years ago as a special education teacher at Edna Brewer. And since leaving the classroom, I've continued to work in support of educational equity in the nonprofit sector, most recently working for Education Superhighway, helping school districts around the country leverage the federal E-rate program to connect every school in the country to high-speed broadband. And we have an exciting announcement about the success we've had in that coming in the next few days. And more recently, we've pivoted our work to work directly to help districts nationwide bridge the digital divide. I'm running because I saw firsthand from my experience as a special education teacher in the classroom that there were deep systemic problems in Oakland Unified School Districts, both their finance and resource allocations that were leading to inequitable education across the city. The students that I was serving in my classroom were really not getting a fair shake and didn't have the kinds of experiences that I had when I was growing up and went to school. I want to apply what I've learned over the last 10 years, both in my experience in the classroom and my work with this in the nonprofit sector, to help get the district back on course to meet its mission to provide an excellent education and an equitable education for every student in the city. And I'm raising funds through a grassroots effort like the others have mentioned, and you can come to my website, markforoakland.com, and make a donation there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike Hutchinson, please.
Hi, thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Mike Hutchinson, and I'm running for school board in District 5. I'm born and raised in Oakland and a proud graduate of Oakland Public Schools. For over 20 years, I worked in our schools and with youth in the East Bay. And since 2012, I've been a community organizer and advocate around educational justice issues. I have deep roots in Oakland, especially in District 5, and I feel like I have a track record of really working with and for the community and schools in District 5 and across Oakland. I also regularly attend school board meetings where I speak on the issues, and we regularly advocate to try to move our district forward. And I really think that my intimate knowledge of the district and OUSD really will prepare me to hit the ground running if elected. And we've developed a 4-point plan that we really think can move OUSD to the place we want to move it to. So the first thing we'll do if elected is we will immediately stop the blueprint process, the process to close schools, the 7-Eleven process to sell our public property, and demand a full forensic audit so we understand how much money we have, where it's been coming from, and most importantly, where it's going. We'll also immediately launch a year-long community engagement process where the community will be treated as partners and decision makers. Third, we want to fully enforce Assembly Bill 1505, which will give our school board control over new charter schools and charter school renewals, so we can really bring local control to who we're going to pay to educate our kids. And lastly, we want to pilot a sustainable community schools program so we can start to redesign and build the kind of schools we want. I will not take money from any billionaires or pro-privatization organizations. We really believe that the way that we counter money power is with people power, and hopefully together we can build a campaign that really moves OUSD to the place where we can assure that every neighborhood has a quality public school. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If we could please have Jorge Lerma come up next.
Buenas noches, my fellow neighbors. Greetings. My name is Jorge Lerma, and I am running for school board director in District 5. I am Oakland born and raised. I understand and live the Oakland experience as a resident and proud Indigenous Mexican American. I have personal knowledge and experience with both the disparities and the benefits of life in the public schools in Oakland. I can understand and relate to the aspirations and desires of people of color, immigrants, and language different people. I can see the concern of our white families and allies who want the best for their children, but not at the cost of degradation for Black and brown children and others in Oakland. I am ready to provide the leadership and direction that this position demands. No assembly required, no on-the-job training necessary. My long-term vision, I want to see Oakland become as equally equitable as it is racially diverse. I will demand and advocate for all our children to have and receive the necessary tailor-made resources for them to reach their full academic and human potential. For me, I'll take the money anybody wants to give me, but I will be myself and I will follow this agenda that I will present tonight. I'm just kidding. I'm going to be doing a lot of pancake breakfasts and a lot of tacos from here on out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If we could please have Sheila Lawrence now. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sheila Pope Lawrence, and I'm running for School Board Director for Area 5. I would like to begin by thanking all of those behind the scenes who made this moment possible. Thank you for the opportunity to tell my story. The question was, why me? I say choose me because I have lived and raised my family in Oakland for the past 25 years. I have served in public education at multiple levels, including elementary, middle, high school, and alternative schools. I've held several positions of leadership, and I've served on numerous advisory committees. Through it all, I have never drifted from my principles, my principal values. Number one, always keep kids' needs first. Number two, working hard to find the best solutions to the challenging problems. And number three, collaboration, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. We know this. After tonight, I know that many of you will dig deeper to find out more about Sheila Pope Lawrence. Sorry, I lost track of where I was in my speech here. Students, parents, colleagues from the various districts where I've served will tell you that Sheila is a woman of integrity and follows through on what she promises. They will also tell you that I have a strong work ethic. I'm genuine and very resourceful. A vote for me is a vote for someone who believes that together we can turn the current state of affairs around. In regards to my financial contributions, I plan to do it the old-fashioned way, by knocking on doors once that's allowed, by using my own funds, with the support of friends and families, and of course with the support of viewers and voters who share my values.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Christina?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for Joshua and the parents and the students who organized this wonderful debate. So my name is Cristina Molina. I am a Chicana cisgender, pronouns she, her. I come from a proud background of California pickers. My grandmother, father, aunt, and uncle worked in the fields picking fruits and flowers and joined Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta in the fight to unionize their unit. In the early 80s, my parents migrated from the fields to East Oakland, where my father opened a small business shop. And I want to take a 2-second pause to thank the African-American community. 98% of my father's clients were African-Americans, and you made it possible for my parents to have a stable economy and to raise 3 children in East Oakland. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. So back to my background. So in East Oakland, I attended Melrose Elementary School. Then I went to Calvin Simmons Junior High School and John C. Fremont High School. I am a mother of 4 wonderful and beautiful boys who attend Oakland Unified School District. My oldest, by the name of Figo, is in the 4th grade, followed by Tlaloc, who is in the 3rd grade, and Quetzal, who's in the 1st grade. Jaoth, my smallest son, will be starting TK in the fall. Two of my children are special learners. They have been diagnosed with ADHD. One has an IEP plan and the other one a 405 plan. I want to run for school board in District 7 because I want to advocate on behalf of students, parents, and teachers. I believe that when a child gets an F on their report card, it's not the child who has failed, but the school that has failed the child. We need to begin to sound the alarm loud and clear on behalf of our children who do not reach their full academic potential and get to the bottom of what is hindering their success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we could have Clifford Thompson, please.
Hello, my name is Cliff Thompson, and I want to say hello to everyone. And thank you very kindly for allowing me to share some of my story also this evening. So the first question is, why me? Well, I'm an individual who has worked in the Oakland Unified School District for almost 40 years. I've been a classroom teacher, a teacher on special assignment, an assistant principal, a principal. I've also had 16 years of work at the college level. So in essence, I have worked from kindergarten through graduate school. Two of the individuals that you might know actually went through my class in graduate school when they earned their master's. One is a superintendent, an African-American superintendent right now on the East Coast, and one actually served as an executive director of new leaders here in Oakland. I left a small town called Orrville up north 40 years ago, relocated to East Oakland, where I am presently. I am a proud single parent, a father that raised a son who went to the Oakland schools, graduated from Skyline High School, and I'm very proud to say he went on to become a professional actor because of the grooming he received here in Oakland. He now resides in Sacramento, California, where he is actually running two firms for exercise. So I know education. I know how education should be implemented. Like I said, I have been an educator at all levels of the system. So I think you should really vote for me because you'll have someone who understands the process and someone who has lived the process, someone who has implemented the process. So I need your support for my candidacy. And so when we talk about finances, we talk about how my campaign will be financed. Like others, I believe in actually working very hard at the grassroots level. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If we could now go for the last candidate on round one, Victor.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Victor Valerio, and I'm currently running for the school board director for District 7. Why am I running? I attend Oakland schools. I grew up in East Oakland. I was born and raised in Oakland. I'm part of a first-generation family from parents who came from Mexico. Both my parents worked hard and strived to make ends meet, and it made sure their children graduated from high school and college. I believe in public education. I believe in people getting a chance to succeed. And I also believe in the hard work ethic. I also believe in investing for a better future, as my parents have invested in us, my siblings and I. I lived through the issues and I know the community. Currently, I'm a commissioner for the Independent Citizen Bond Oversight Committee for ABNJ and for the last 2 years. And I'm aware of certain practices that need to change. Honestly, we know Oakland, those who've gone through the school system. Those who are now parents know the system. If they know that some things haven't changed, and this is the time and the opportunity when there's going to be 4 seats available to make those changes. My initial fundraiser started with my family and friends who have grown up or who live in Oakland. I believe the election needs to be community-based, and I believe in the representation of the community. And that has to be done through a grassroots process, which I'm very invested in. And one short time before, I also got to give a shout out for Jessica Ramos for reaching out to Jack Dorsey to providing Oakland Love, to actually helping out students who are having problems with the digital divide that exists. And also to all the community and all the teachers and all the staff who have been helping out in providing meals to go in recent weeks during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now for round 2. The next question I'd like to provide a little background here. When we reviewed all the questions from the community, there were a great deal of questions raised around the growth and oversight of charter schools and the proposed school closures. But there were also many other issues, and many of them interrelated around the larger financial governance issues. Many concerned around financial stability, viability of the district, and the questions range from the policy to even what many might think is more mundane. How do you even work with the community to help us understand the school budget? So the question then is, how do you plan to, one, investigate and educate yourself on these and other complex issues, and two, build trust with students and their families, staff, and the community to effectively address these deeply complex challenges? And our first person, Alicia Johnson.
Thank you. That's such a great question, and one that is really dear to my heart. I believe that having the trust of the community is the most important thing. And I've experienced firsthand that broken trust with OUSD. I promise to listen to the community, to truly hear them, and to champion their needs. For the last 2 years, I've attended many school board meetings in person with my 2 young children in tow, and I've read everything that has come across the school board's desk. And I'm educated in the issues because of my family's situation. I was thrown into them, and now I've become a champion for them. I speak out of a deep place of pain for my family, especially my young son. There was no space in our neighborhood school. I had to pull him out of a charter school after 2 months because it wasn't serving his needs. And now his elementary school is slated to permanently close in 2 weeks. To add insult to injury, the school district enrolled my 2 children in different schools for the fall. And so I have to fight for my own children, and I've been fighting for the children of Oakland to stop some of this madness. They need an excellent education. I stood with Roots when they fought to keep their school open, and they were ignored. The next round of closures, the community brought incredible solutions to the school board, and they were ignored. Just a few months ago, when the school district was the school board was gonna cut from our school sites, a packed room pleaded with them to please eliminate school police and save $2 million. BOP has an incredible comprehensive plan. OUSD is the only school district in Alameda County with its own police force, but they were ignored. When the community comes to me, they will not be ignored, and I'm committed to fighting for them.
Thank you. If we could have Sam, please, and then after him will be Mark. Thank you. Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, schools are the centers of community life. You know, we need to treat them as the precious community resources they are. They're not just buildings with kids in them. And our California economy is wealthy enough to keep all of our schools open. Yet, ironically, it was pressure from Sacramento on OUSD that took us down this road of closures and mergers. Even so, if the district had been transparent and truly engaged with the community, I think creative solutions to these problems could have been found. But again, the decision was very top down, and that's what's created this feeling of broken trust. To repair that trust, the district should stop the school merger plan known as Cohort 3, and they should also communicate basic facts about the 5 closures and mergers that have happened or are happening. Did students leave the district? What's happened with the enrollment at these 5 schools? Did teachers leave? What's our teacher retention like? What's happened to students' educational progress at these schools? And did these closures and mergers actually save the district money or not? And the fact that we have no answers to these questions, or even the timeline of when we're going to get them, is why there should not be a Cohort 3 of school closures and consolidations right now. And we need to advocate at the state level to get the resources our students deserve to prevent more closures in the future. The state of California also sets the rules for charter schools. So you see students with special needs, newcomer students, other groups that should have equal opportunities at charter or district schools, but they don't. And so the district has to take on more responsibility for these students. The way the system is set up, charter schools have a financial incentive not to serve students with greatest need. And so again, the school board has a larger responsibility than just enforcing the system as it is set up. School board directors are not just members of a board. they're also elected officials representing the voters. They should be advocating for changing the system in Sacramento. So not only would I vote against new charter schools and push existing charter schools to serve all students well, but I would also advocate for changing the system so it is fairer to our students with greater needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mark, if you would come up next. Thank you.
Yeah, so I agree. Educating yourself is an important part of being prepared to serve on a board. And I have read closely the OUSD blueprint and the board policy that required it. I'm familiar with the district's financial issues. I've read thoroughly the grand jury report and looked at the auditor's reports for the last several years of the Oakland Unified Budget and noted that the issues that have been raised by the auditors have been persistent over the course of the years and significant. So there's been 10 or 12 issues raised each year by the board, by the auditors, and oftentimes they're the same year over year. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed. I've been meeting one-on-one with leaders in the education community who have insight into these issues. I've been having conversations with them and will continue to have those same kinds of conversations with them around the ideas that need to be investigated around the ways we deal with charter schools and school closures. I've also I'm completing this week a certificate in education finance from Georgetown University. I wanted to be prepared to have the kind of insight and understanding of how school funding works and how education finance works in general. And so I've completed that. To build trust with the community, I think we need to set policy at the board level that makes the OUSD budget transparent. And I think that's something that we could do and should be done. And I think would go a long ways towards helping everyone in the community have a voice in how those budget priorities are set. I think we need to continue to engage with the community around the spending priorities of the district. I think that's something that really is important to have community input. I think we need to dig deeper into the issues of place-based education as we're facing this pandemic and how those issues are going to come into play. I think this pandemic has been challenging to education, and I think it's an opportunity for innovation as well.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, so yes, so building trust, it's the number one. I feel like that's the number one element in this whole conversation. And then two, being a candidate of the Board of Education, this trust is so important right now. And as far as that trust factor is concerned, I believe, yes, as many of my constituents have constantly repeated. Community engagement is something that, that I'm going to take into play and to implement as far as having more conversations regarding the budget, how the budget is spent. And one thing that I could say about that trust factor, that as becoming a candidate and also a director of District 3, I will be able to basically I'll also be able to, I'm sorry, my internet is saying something about my internet. But one thing that I have been doing personally, just to keep myself updated on the budget cuts and the school closures, most importantly, I have been, taking further research as far as education posts. I've been reading education posts and reading about different things that are impacting the Oakland community. And one thing that as far as becoming a board member, having that community organization skill set, coming from a nonprofit organization. And that's one thing I feel that the trust factor will definitely is something that's very sacred to what's going on in this predicament. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Sharice, if you could join us now.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I've had to educate myself on school closures by constantly advocating against school closures and going to many board meetings and being at them for many very long hours, and just understanding that our current board has not been listening to the needs of the students, the needs of the parents, the needs of the community. They haven't been very forthright with the fiscal transparency at all, and it's not for the educational needs of our students. And so for me as a board member, I would vote for the educational needs for all of our students first, over any of the priorities of our consultant fees and, many of the central office staff that have, huge salaries that are over $150,000. All of those things are not needs that are going to our students. Our students are getting half of what the funds that they're receiving from the state. And it's criminal to do so to our students. They are the most precious. They're the most precious folks for us. They deserve this education that's here in Oakland. And so, we have a lot of trust issues to build from. And, we have to listen to our students, listen to our parents, and listen to our communities. The closing of school sites is very traumatic, and it's long-term effects. And not only is that, you have to understand that this is not just happening in Oakland of school closures. It happens to be happening in other cities like Chicago, Detroit, New Jersey, Los Angeles. And these are all coming from privatizations that are trying to close schools and turn them into charter schools. And we cannot have here. Oakland needs to remain public school orientated, and we have to get rid of the charter. We have to get rid of the charter organizations from taking over our school sites. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we could have Sheila, please join us now. Thank you.
Currently, Oakland has too many charter schools not being held to the same set of standards of accountability as traditional public schools. I'm increasing my knowledge on these topics, and I agree that they are very complex. I'm in favor of neighborhood schools and keeping them open if the district can afford to maintain them. My plan is to make decisions based on community input as well as the most recent data, not hearsay, not perception. Building relationships is one of my strengths, and I will make myself available to hear and discuss your concerns relating to this topic. When I worked at United for Success Academy last year, as a counselor, I was inundated mid-year by charter school students who had been expelled. It disrupted our environment, and it was unacceptable and unfair, especially to students who were enrolled without prior information about their learning needs. Often, they would be students that had IEPs, or students that have 504 plans. I have relationships with administrators who have opened charter schools after working in traditional public schools for many years. Those charter schools are unique and they serve students in unique ways. What I do not support is charter schools being able to select top students or families, reject students with special needs, and expel students at will. Traditional schools don't have that option. We serve every type of learner enrolled. Why should charter schools have different rules? They receive public dollars to operate, just like traditional public schools. If you share my vision, vote for me, Sheila Pope Lawrence, and together we will make some big changes in Oakland. Thank you.
Right. Jorge Lerma, please.
Thank you. What do we know about charter schools? They have been given a space in Oakland. They serve the agenda of some parents. They are given public money to run private programs with no public oversight and supervision. Charter promoters allege that they offer choice, but in reality, the choice belongs to the charters. They decide if they want a student and their prerequisites. They don't allow employees and teachers to have access to fair labor practices and bargaining rights. Their test results and achievement rates aren't anything to brag about. I say that if we are expected to work together, then let's play by the same rules and have the same rights. And now, as for the school consolidation ideas, nobody's anxious or happy to close or consolidate a school. All our neighborhood schools are valued institutions that give value to our community and our lives. The continuous underfunding of public education and diminishing priority in Sacramento and Washington must be fought. Yes, we need a courageous voice, and I'm willing to be that courageous voice. But what is necessary is a united community to take back our schools. The survival of the district and our neighborhood schools are threatened, and with them, the lives of our children and the promise of a quality education. The City of Oakland and OUSD boards of directors must invest in mobilizing and organizing Oakland residents and family to confront the forces of opposition in the state capital and in the nation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a good relationship across Oakland, especially in the education community, largely based on a lot of the work that we've been doing, especially over the last 8 years. And I also pledged to have monthly community advisory or office hour meetings to directly engage with the community and really pledge to work on restoring the trust. I'll also be present regularly at school site meetings, for example, PTA and school site councils, to directly engage with the community. And yes, we have many complex issues now surrounding OUSD. I'm familiar with a lot of the complex issues, but really the three issues I've worked the most on over the last 8 years are issues surrounding school closures, charter schools, and the OUSD budget. To refer back to our 4-point plan, that's why our first step that we will take is end the blueprint process and have a full forensic audit of OUSD. I've been spending the last 3 years speaking even nationally on the problems that school closures and charter schools have caused in Oakland. Going back to 2013, I testified at the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. I've been involved in supporting many of our school sites that have fought against Prop 39 offers and charter co-locations. And really, one of the exciting things about running for school board is a chance to bring our advocacy directly to the school board and to be that community voice and to move our opposition from always having to show up at school board meetings, begging for them to listen, to actually having representation directly on the school board. Importantly, I want to address the budget issues right now. I feel like not only have I worked a lot on these issues directly, I've been really trying to provide information to the community about the OUSD budget. So according to the official budget numbers, last year for 18-19, OUSD ended the year with a $21 million surplus. The year before, 17-18, we ended with a $29 million surplus. So the question is, why has the school board put money into the surplus while they've been cutting spending at our schools? We have the money. We don't have a financial crisis. We have a mismanagement crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Victor? Wait.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Thank you. We hear this a lot, and it comes down to this. Communication is key. To build trust, there has to be communication. There has to be a trust between either party and the communities. First off, actually, the first thing as a school board director, I will actually read and listen from studies, community members, in our history, because we know what got us here to begin with. And at the same time, what led to those decisions and what we can do to repeal some of those decisions and readdress them for the right ones. I will reevaluate the data and the budget projections to make the right decisions. Secondly, I will hold community meetings more frequently and hear from parents, teachers, and students at the school sites. As a school board director, I will pursue to establish the independent committee for ethics, transparency, and accountability on the school district with legal advisor support to make sure that it's independent from the superintendent's and the school board's own legal advisor. and also requiring internal controls and checkpoints as required and was brought up during the grand jury report, which by all means is not something to be taken lightly. There are many issues that need to be addressed, and they haven't been addressed since they came out. And as a school board director, this will be one of the first things to tackle on day one. And thirdly, most importantly, will be to also repeal the blueprint for quality schools. It's nothing more than a justification for school closures without really having an analysis or a matrix on why they're closing schools to begin with, or what are the actual numbers that are coming in as revenue for the school district. And with that, along with that, we're going to tag along a moratorium to reduce charter schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Clifford?
Okay. First off, I want to say, I think what we have done is we have reduced the conversation when it comes to charters and traditional public school to what I call an acrimonious debate. And what we need to do is, as adults, stop the debate and then put the student in the center of every decision we make. And if we put the student in the center of it, then we'll always make the right decision predicated what is right for the students at all times. Now, in terms of investigating and how I would educate myself, I spoke earlier and said I taught college for 16 years, and I was actually the leadership chair, and I taught human resources, I taught school finance, and I taught educational law. With those three things behind me and thinking about what I have learned from them, I've also educated myself in reading the FIGMAT report and making sure that I understand exactly what's going on and where perhaps the accountability lies. So I think it's very important for us to be continual learners. As educators, we're continual learners. As a board member, we're especially continual learners because we're looking at what is happening and how we can make a difference in what has happened in the past. So with that in mind, I think it's so important for us to understand that if we're going to be change agents, we have to, one, keep students in the center of all of our decision making. Two, remain cognizant of what is going on. So you're constantly reading, you're constantly updating yourself so that you are aware of how best to actually implement a policy or help a policy be implemented by the superintendent. So I think if we do those things, we will actually position ourselves to be the best we can possibly be as board members. Building trust in students. I taught a class, again, it's called Effective Communication. And effective communication took into account all of the communicative processes that one has to learn in order to be an effective communicator and work well with individuals. Because I have taught it for so long, and because I've practiced it not only as a teacher, but also as an administrator and also as a college professor, I think I'm able to coalesce, bring together disparate groups in the community so that we will have one voice going toward an effective end. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Christina.
Yeah, thank you. So I have been a community activist for more than 20 years, and you cannot be successful as an activist for that long period of time if you have not persistently earned the trust of your community. When I was at Barrier Women Against Rape, which is your local rape crisis center, my job was to build community on behalf of survivors. In order for her, him, they to heal from this devastating experience, not only did I need to build trusting relationships with everyone who was going to influence the healing process of my survivor, but at the same time, I also needed to hold everyone accountable who was jeopardizing such a process. So my experience of building trust within the school community will have 4 steps. The first step is to eliminate all the barriers that hinder success for students, parents, and teachers. The second step is to provide the tools necessary for the school community to achieve their goals. Are teachers and students receiving the support that they need from the district? The third step is to hold individuals accountable. There has to be a high degree of accountability. Everyone has to play by the same rules. And if they don't, they need to be held accountable. So the playing field between charters and traditional school needs to be leveled out. And the final and most important step is to be open to input. We need to have a safe space where we can hear the voices of students, teachers, and parents from both charter and traditional school. And when you combine these 4 steps, you build trust. But trust needs to go hand in hand with transparency. One of my priorities is to make the Oakland Unified School District budget transparent and accessible. Families, teachers, students, and community stakeholders need to know how schools are spending and investing funds. School site parent-run organizations need to be provided with the school budget to see how the administration has expended every dollar of their child's education. Schools need to provide parents with the tools to help them discern budget red flags and a safe space to blow the whistle to begin to hold people accountable. The more parents engage in looking after their school budget, higher the opportunity will be to advocate for the allocation of resources for our children's education.
Thank you. And I just want to say to everyone, I will do a better job on respecting the time. This is Josh. I'm not on video. I promise everyone here I'm going to do better keeping us to the 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to now, I think everyone can take kind of a deep breath. We're halfway through. Thank you. For round 3, new challenges of the pandemic are stacking up upon the longer-standing inequities in serving children of families with less resources, whether they be African-American families, families whose primary language is not English, families with learning disabilities and special needs, or those who have been caught in a digital learning world without access to it. Trauma is a big part of the reality of many Oakland families, lives, and their education. And I want to say that one of the themes that seem to permeate across the board throughout the various questions was a sense from this community that they wanted to know from you really about equity. How would our children have access to excellence? Okay, excellent education in a sense. So the question is, how will you ensure that Oakland schools uplift and empower those students in our community who most need the support? If we could please start then with Sam.
Thank you, Viola. And I believe that people who are closest to the issues of racism, immigration, special education, people who experience them directly in their lives, they're the ones who know best how to address those issues. In working in the schools, I've been fortunate to get to know many brilliant educators of color. And in being involved in Faith in Action East Bay, I've developed deep relationships with many people from very different backgrounds than mine, from all across Oakland. People who overcame immigration challenges and economic challenges, people who talk honestly about the effects of white supremacy in their lives, and who have deep commitment and deep insight in our schools. For example, when my son was at Manzanita Seed, there were shifts happening in the enrollment that were marginalizing African-American students. So a group of parents and educators formed a Black Family Engagement Committee. That not only created more of a sense of belonging for African-American families, they also took concrete steps for changes at the school. And we've also seen many schools have successful committees for families of English language learners. So in my experience, the effort to engage families always gets paid back multiple times over. Another tremendous resource in our district are educators of color, and we need to do whatever we can to increase retention of those folks because of the example they give the kids and the deeper knowledge they have on issues of race and identity in their community. So we need to do more to create pathways that encourage our students to come back and work in our schools, and programs to encourage classified staff and parents to become teachers and principals. Education should be a resource that protects our families from gentrification and displacement. So as demographics change, we need to insist that the additional resources in our community go to protect the most vulnerable, whether it's reading intervention, family engagement, restorative justice, whatever is proven as a successful strategy. I will continue to depend on my relationships with educators and families of color to tell me how we can better support their kids. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alicia, please.
Thank you. The global pandemic has definitely highlighted the inequities in our system that most of us knew were already there, but now there is a stark contrast. And the lessons I've learned from COVID-19 are that this can be a time to reset, to reimagine and recreate our world. What do we want our schools to look like? What does a district look like that truly serves students and families? We can't just fix schools when charters want to co-locate. And we can't not have a backup plan when toxicities are found in the air. All students deserve access to excellence. My family chose to set our roots down in Oakland because it is a diverse, talented, and unique community that aligns with our family values. And our schools are the same. They're full of so much diversity and talent. Can you imagine if principals, teachers, and staff alongside their communities had the freedom to create programming that specifically met the needs of their students and families? Oakland schools would change dramatically. One very simple thing is it's important to visit schools as a school board member. Meet the students, meet the staff, find out what makes that school amazing and what they actually need. What do they need from me as a school board member? In 3 years, I never once saw a school board member at our school or the superintendent until they already had voted to close the school. One of my best skill sets is to connect resources with schools and community organizations. When there is a need or a challenge, I go above and beyond to make sure that's taken care of. I will do that for all students and families in Oakland. And as a school board member, they have my commitment that I will work tirelessly for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If we could please have Charisse, please join us now.
Thank you. Thank you. The best way to uplift your school sites and community is to listen to the community and listen to the students and the families. What happened with COVID was extremely unfortunate, and it's a very traumatic experience for everyone. But the fact is that we realized very quickly that our district didn't have a plan or a crisis plan for education. And so with that, we had weeks going by with our students having not just the turmoil of what was happening worldwide, but what was happening for their education. And so we had plenty of time to figure out how to create a distance planning learning policy for our schools, especially what happened with McClymonds, especially what happened with our issues of the fires that we had for the past previous years, and the simple fact that we are an earthquake state. We need to have these plans in order for our students to have their education be streamlined. And also with this plan, the fact is that none of this was able to educate any of the parents on how to support the distance learning. So we have these weeks going by of just very traumatic times of just not understanding everything like that. And we need to really go back and listen to our students and families and figure out what's the best plan for each and every student. And as for me, as a mother, I've had to fight constantly to keep an equitable education for my son in each school site. And I know that has to do with everyone else. And so as a board member, I'm going to be here to fight for you and be a person that's going to be going inside the schools on a regular basis to make sure that your students' needs are always first.
Thank you. Thank you. Maya.
Yes. So moving forward in the age of COVID-19 in this outbreak again, it has highlighted a lot of disparities that Oakland students are facing. And as an educator and as a person who's already been in the Oakland Unified School District, who's been a part of scholarship efforts with Guy Johnson and actually fundraising $15,000 for Oakland Unified School District back in March, I plan to just keep, as far as uplifting those Oakland students, to just continue doing what I'm doing as far as having outreach programmings. And then also too, just, I feel like keep getting the students, amplifying the voices of the students. I feel that in in this whole conversation is so important. And I feel that if we put the students at the forefront of everything, I feel that we, at the board, there will be a dramatic change in this entire process. And also, as far as amplifying the voices of students, what I plan to do as far as encouraging them is also the digital divide. I feel like that's something that, as board members, that's something that we need to really focus on and moving forward, and taking the pros and cons that we have learned in this experience with this distance learning and actually perfecting and finding ways. I feel like as the board, as potential board member, just finding innovative ways to, to help students be able to have better computing systems. I feel like it's something that, can amplify and can empower students today. And yes, that's my point.
Okay. Thank you. If we could please have Mark come up next.
Yeah, as a special education teacher, I saw firsthand the challenges that students with learning disabilities were facing. And one of my primary goals as a teacher in that classroom was to empower students to find their different abilities and find ways to express themselves. I have a funny story. One of my students used to like to tap on his desk during class, and he would tap out patterns and rhythms and things like that. And we started to we had a class discussion around this, and we wanted to find out what was behind that. And turns out he really loved music, and he loved the patterns that he could make, the mathematical patterns that he could make by tapping. So we, rather than try to disabuse him of that behavior, we found a resource online where he and the other students in the class could use a computer and make musical patterns and musical compositions and develop that higher order mathematical thinking around those kinds of patterns. And it was a great experience for them, but they didn't have access to those resources at home. They didn't have a computer. None of the kids in my class had either a computer or internet access at home. And so they only had that opportunity when they were in the classroom. And this pandemic has actually exposed the fact that many of our students are in that same situation, that they don't have access to the resources that they need for an enriched educational experience. As a board member, I will lean heavily on my experience working with the organization that I work with today. We are helping school districts around the nation bridge that digital divide by providing them with a playbook for how to take advantage of the resources that they can access and can make available to students, and that they should be working towards a permanent solution for. It's urgent. This is an urgent need, but we can't let this urgency slip away. It's something that we need to address as a permanent solution. There needs to be access for everybody in this city all the time, every student.
Thank you. Mike?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to try to answer this big question as best I can in 2 minutes here. Right now we are in a crisis, and OUSD has been shut down and plans to reopen again in the beginning of August to begin the fall, but there is no plan in place. And so first thing we need is OUSD needs to guarantee that there's full testing and protocols in place in order to even consider reopening our schools. It's also clear that we can't do social distancing within our schools. And so if the plan next year is going to be to again adopt a distance learning model, there needs to be something to address the fact that upwards of 20% of our students have no access to the current distance learning model. And lastly, the school board is making decisions now during this crisis via Zoom calls is how they're holding their meetings, where again, there is a lack of access from the community, and they haven't even been providing translation for those meetings. So we really need to address those issues immediately. There needs to be a plan in place on how we reopen OUSD and how we can do it in an equitable way. Let's be clear. Oakland has done a great job educating many of their students, but they've never done a good enough job. And we refuse to go back to the old normal because that didn't work for us either. And so hopefully we can use this time to really create a new normal. We know what creates a quality school: lowering class sizes, full wraparound services, culturally relevant and deep curriculum, high-trained teachers, and continuity of the teaching force. We can go down the list of things that we know make a quality school. The problem has been there's been nobody within OUSD who's been willing to bring those plans to a vision. I really hope that our new sustainable community schools model, like what they're using in Chicago right now, is a way for us to get there, where the community gets to decide what they want in their schools, and the school board votes to give them extra resources. For example, in Chicago, $500,000. So lastly, to make all of this happen, it is key that we reprioritize the budget and we have enough money and wisdom to create the kind of schools we want.
Thank you, Mike. Jorge.
Yes, I'd like to public schools that presently exist. And I'd like to promote and support holistic education for our students. Learning challenges aren't always or exclusively just about poverty. Many times it's about being disenfranchised with learning, being alienated by teaching approaches and content that is only presented in a rote or linear way. OUSD must support equity and diversity, not only in terms of people and cultures. It must support equity and diversity in the way we teach and learn, and not just in the values that are alleged. Oakland must also stop losing time and do a better job of recruiting underutilized and underrepresented members of our community. Too much time is taken talking about equity with very little results and proof of it. For instance, Latino students represent 45% of the student enrollment and make up less than 14% of the teachers and administrators in the Oakland workforce. African Americans are slowly fading from central office and school site leadership. Women of color and bilingual speakers are in short demand. These things are also about equity and diversity. And so those are the things that I will stand up for. I'm totally in favor, and we need a large movement. We can blame the superintendent, we can blame a certain person, but I agree that we have to invest in mobilizing our whole city to confront these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sheila.
While this pandemic has been traumatic to all of us, it has been exceedingly traumatic for those populations who were already struggling. Unfortunately, our new reality is that things are going to continue this way for several months into the new school year. I applaud the various nonprofit, the corporations, teachers, dedicated teachers like Cassandra Chan at United for Success Academy, who spearheaded a GoFundMe campaign that supported 40 families that had lost their homes, families that had lost their jobs. I also applaud OUSD's leadership for doing all that they can to keep serving meals and providing resources to bridge the digital divide and financial divide. I'm a parent of two, and I know the struggles of balancing schedules, rushing home to fix dinner, attending school meetings, correcting homework. For my entire career, I have kept all students, especially our African American and Latinx students, in the forefront of my policy decisions, and I was responsible for creating and implementing. As an elected school board member, this will not change. I will be the voice of those community members whose voices for far too long have been silenced. I will continue to have informational sessions with the remarkable teachers and administrators in this district to find solutions to support all students, and especially those students most in need.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Christina, please.
Yes, so I live in the flatlands of East Oakland. Most of the schools in District 7 are classified as highly stressed or stressed areas, meaning that they are high in environmental stress factors such as violent crime, unemployment, illegal dumping, poor quality, and limited food security. In the last 12 months, my family have experienced 4 drive-by shootings, 350 days of illegal dumping, 3 physical assaults, and 1 incident of domestic violence where 1 man was beating on his wife in broad daylight in front of neighborhood children and my children. All of these incidents happened pre-COVID-19. So you can only imagine what my community is experiencing now. And we are the hardest hit with COVID-19. So this trauma that parents and students are enduring in the flatlands, along with our teachers, is only going to get worse. So when they go back to school after experiencing all these incidents, I don't expect success because the education that we're providing our children is a prototype education that is not meant for children in the flatlands to succeed. So when I think about education post-pandemic, we need to provide a lot of resources for our students and for our teachers. We cannot expect our teachers to do this alone. They need assistance in the classroom. So we need to pack those classrooms with TAs. But also, learning distance doesn't work for everybody. I'm telling you, I'm a mom of 2 special learners, and it's not working for them. And they're not going to meet their IEP goals. They're not. So this is something that is devastating me. And we need to make the changes necessary in our district so that doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Clifford.
First and foremost, I want to share that I am a classroom teacher presently. I teach 5th grade, and I can proudly say that 80% of my students met or exceeded their reading targets within only 5 to 6 months. The highest growth was a Latina who actually grew 6 years in 6 months. Right now, in the 5th grade, she's reading at the 10th, almost the 11th grade level. I've seen this kind of success several years. Last year, my highest growth rate success rate was 75% of my students. This year, it's 80. I do believe if I continue the trajectory, I will be at 85%, 90%, and even 100% of my classroom meeting or exceeding their goals in reading. I can speak to this pandemic because, like I said, I'm a classroom teacher. If you look behind, you'll probably see on the wall some charts. I have not stopped teaching units of study with my students because I know that one of the gatekeepers for Black and Brown students is not being able to write correctly. And so what I have done is I have put on the wall, and I expect my students to do this. Right now, if school were open, you could go to my classroom and you could see that my 5th graders can write coherently a 5-paragraph essay. So I do not allow stumbling blocks to stop us from learning. When I think back about my life as a child growing up in Orville, there were many individuals who felt that I, because I was Black, could not make it in this world. But I do want to say that I am a proud person who stands tall and say that, yes, I was a single parent. Yes, I was a Black individual. Yes, I went to college. I graduated in 4 years from UC Davis with a bachelor's in French and rhetoric.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Victor.
Thank you. Having grown up in Oakland and attended Oakland schools, myself and many others will recognize this. This is nothing new. What COVID-19 has exposed what we already knew, inequity in our neighborhoods. And this isn't the time, this is the time to even consider what many are thinking because of the induced recession by this pandemic, budget cuts. When people talk about budget cuts, the most low-income communities are the ones that are being impacted the most. And this isn't a time to be considering budget cuts. This is a time to consider investments. And as a school board director, I will work hard to find the revenues and the funds in order to reduce the inequity gaps that exist today. And the way I would approach it will be to jumpstart the school year with a 3-tier approach. 1, build the needed infrastructure to provide Wi-Fi and network to school resources from home or outside schools. 2, create a contingency plan as a health center on campuses to actually build a way to gradually open up the schools, providing both physical and mental health to the students, and also monitoring the health conditions of the school sites. 3, build up the academic support for students as extracurricular activities, tutoring, laboratories for computers in case students can't go home and do their homework because they don't have access to internet. They can stay on school, whether it be during the weekday or the weekend. This is the infrastructure that we need in our school system, and this is the environment we need to create for our school system. We can listen and talk about it, but in reality, we need to start working on making it happen. And as a school board director, that's what I will pursue to make things happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now go to question number 4. I think when all is said and done, many believe that it's one thing to create policy because a lot of us can pontificate from a higher plane what we think should or should not be done, but it's quite another to actually make things happen. So one of the threads that came through our questions was, what about lasting positive impact? Many of you have already commented, the district finances were already troubled and are more likely to become tougher through the pandemic. So we ask you, by what measures will you and the community you serve know that the district is taking the right actions to ensure all children have an opportunity to succeed, regardless of what the budget situation is? And how will we know that all our school children have access to excellence and excellent education? If we could please have Alicia start this question. Thank you.
Thank you. As a parent engrossed in these issues, it has been really difficult to grasp how troubled the finances really are in OUSD. They've had 4 years of surplus, yet they continue to cut to the bone at our school sites. We need to have a clear understanding of the budget and create transparency so the community has faith that those numbers are accurate. My priority is students first, and it always will be. I will know that I'm taking the right actions when the community agrees that their children are being educated in an excellent way. This ties back to listening and advocating for students and families. We have to be honest that our priorities show up in the numbers. OUSD has 30% higher administrative costs than any other comparable district. They rent an expensive downtown office and pay high salaries to administrators. The status quo is no longer acceptable in Oakland. We have to stop starving our schools and our students and give them what they need. We have to elect people who are courageous and who are willing to stand up for our public schools. School board members have the power to make these important decisions that affect our kids and our families for years to come. And I believe we have to elect people who it's in their value system to support a true public education and school board members that want to see it grow and thrive in an equitable way in Oakland. I've been working to do that as a parent, and I'm ready to take on this amazing opportunity with our community as a school board member.
Thank you. Sam.
Yes, well, thank you. This coronavirus national situation is a great example of what works and what doesn't in public policy. So what has helped when we base our decisions on what data and research show to be successful, when we take solutions that worked well in one place and then we adapt them to scale up, when we recognize that our most vulnerable populations are inextricably tied in with all of us, and so what they need matters to all of us, that's when things start to get better. On the other hand, when the people in charge tell us to follow their plan just because, and when the money is approved secretly and the details are not available to the public, things go wrong, right? I want to talk about some success stories in Oakland Unified that we don't talk about enough, and I think they're models for what works here. Our college and career pathways program at the high school level, those have been really successful. Graduation rates are up at high schools all across Oakland. You know, nothing's perfect, but this program has done very well. That's because it was tried out first at a few high schools, and it's been adapted by each school to fit their particular needs. The district went to the voters with a good plan in Measure N. The voters said, yes, we know our high schools need this support. Part of Measure N is a volunteer oversight committee that has a great deal of involvement and transparency in how programs are approved and how money is spent. So this means that educators are learning from each other and programs grow from the bottom up, not the top down. Another great example is restorative justice. When we address the root causes of student misbehavior and help them to reflect on it, it becomes a learning opportunity, not a discipline opportunity. Suspensions are down as we have grown our expertise within the district in this area. So don't let anybody tell you that change is impossible in OUSD. In fact, it's inevitable. This election will transform our board, and that will have huge impacts on how the district navigates this next difficult period. So if you're still watching this far into the debate, then you definitely should get in touch with me because you are somebody who cares deeply about our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark.
Thank you, Sam. I think I agree with most of what you said. That's an important thing to start from the bottom up. I actually think that one of the problems that the district has had is that we have too many priorities. We have 18 or 19 priority programs that we are trying to institute at the same time. I think we need to stop and take stock of what are the most important things and really set three priorities, something that we can attack effectively in 90 days. Let's say we set 3 priorities for 90 days. And the 3 that I would probably advocate for as a board member would be, number 1, a literacy program that's continuous across the spectrum of schools and across the grade levels, so that we're seeing literacy education in Oakland change. When 1 in 4 students of color are not reading at grade level, that means that the school district is failing those students. And we heard from a few weeks ago at the board meeting about the fact that that's a generational problem in Oakland. We need to address that problem, and it should be the top priority for our district. A second is something that has come about because of the pandemic, but is something that has predates the pandemic, which is the digital divide. We need to provide access for students to have ways to continue their learning at home and explore and invest in their own education on their own time. And that's necessary. For that, it's necessary to have sufficient digital access at home and a device at home to take advantage of that. And lastly, I think financial accountability is key. I think it's the important part of rebuilding communities' confidence in the school district. I think bringing on a new chief financial officer is a first step. And now maybe that financial officer can adjust the accounting practices to make those things work and bring the district's finances into accord. Then I would set 3 new priorities for the next 90 days. So this is not just a 90-day plan. I think we need to continue to roll out new priorities over time.
Thank you, Mark. Maya?
Yes, so as far as maintaining that excellence and making sure that students are, how we measure success, how I will measure success as a candidate is lowering the A&G requirements for students, especially for African-American and Brown Latino students as well. And then also, bringing up the digital divide. What success really looks like is really when, as a district, as Oakland Unified School District comes up with a strategic initiative for the school of tomorrow. I feel like we need to have a tangible plan set out for students to help them navigate through this new normal that we're having with the COVID outbreak. And we need to really, as a candidate for the board, I know that I will be able, with most of the partnerships that I do have with KPOR Social Impact and also with Merritt College's cybersecurity department, having those working relationships. Those are what's really going to help as far as make that success come into full fruition for our students for Oakland Unified School District. And then also again focusing as some of our constituents have repeated, the college readiness portion. And I have been a huge advocate for college readiness programming in Oakland Unified School District. And I believe bringing in that, continuing that success and those strategies are going to be crucial as far as seeing that success. And then also when we as a whole, as a community, address the technical resources for our students, when we actually have that together, that's when we will see success. That's when we will see, equity across all boards.
Thank you. If we could please have Sharice join us now.
Thank you. A way to measure success for our students and to ensure that the budget situation is taken care of is to return local control to our school district. We need to get rid of FITMAC. They take way too much money from our student dollars, and we have way too many consultants who have high costs that take away from funding from each and every one of our school sites. We also, again, have to talk to our students. We have to talk to them from our eldest scholar to our youngest scholar. We have 37,000 brilliant minds in Oakland, and we're not talking to our students. We're not asking them what's happening in their classrooms. We're not asking and talking with them, and we have to do that. We have our students that are not on grade level. And like the other ones, everyone else is saying, our literacy level for African-American students has been below for far too many years. That has to stop. We've paid so many consultants to help with the reading crisis that we have of our students, and we've got nothing in return from our students. They're still below, and it leaves them behind. And with that means that they're behind on credits, and they're not able to graduate on time. And that cannot happen for anyone. We need to be a full service district to our students. We can't have any more compliance-based learning. Our students are modern day students. Our students are great in Oakland, and we need to be able to support them. In order for that, all students need to know that education is a right. It is not a privilege. And we have to support them. And I will be there to vote each and every time for all of our students. First, every time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sheila?
Fiscal solvency and stable leadership are keys to ensuring that quality education is provided in this district. The only way that we know if all students have access to excellence is to visit our schools often. Participation in school site council, PTAs, texting teachers, attending the principal chats, giving your input. Those are the best ways to stay informed about what's happening at your schools. As a board member, I promise you that I will model this by attending as many school functions as possible, as well as just dropping by schools just because I'm in the neighborhood. I will make sure that we as the board has vetted policies and we're making decisions based on data and community input. I believe that quality education can happen everywhere, regardless of funding, as long as we provide our school sites and staff and students with, at minimum, the basic tools that they need to be successful. We must trust our leadership, ask questions when we disagree with or don't understand decisions. Then, and only then, will we truly come together as one unified district. A vote for Sheila Pope Lawrence will be a vote towards seeing these actions implemented.
Thank you, Sheila. Jorge.
Yes, Oakland is filled with bright, energetic, and curious students taught by equally bright, energetic, dedicated teachers and administrators. And if we're serious about putting students in the center of this debate, as been mentioned by some of my colleagues, and setting priorities, I would say and recognize that standardized testing is hostile to our urban blend of children. The testing results lead to a total negation of identity and the true potential of our students. The high-stake testing can't measure creativity, imagination, or the unique personality of our children. Standardized testing often brands students of color as non-achieving and perpetuates the stereotype that our Oakland schools are failing students. Kids aren't born underachievers or failures. Mega corporations and testing systems put those titles and labels on us. I will fight to throw off that tyranny. We never talk about testing, but that is one of the key indicators that is holding down our children. And I want to also support the other factor besides detrimental teaching is support for innovative teaching. We must allow our administrators and our teachers to test, to innovate, to rely on a full spectrum of curriculum and not just narrow, rudimentary, linear instruction. So I look forward to having our teachers take up and follow the emphasis that's provided by leaders like Abraham Maslow and Piaget and Maria Montessori.
Thank you, Mike. If you could take up the mantle next.
Great, thank you. I believe that Oakland has long suffered from a lack of leadership, particularly on our school board, particularly since the state takeover of 2003. Our local school board has two main functions. One is to set policy, which then the superintendent is supposed to implement. The other is to supervise the district's finances. This school board, I think, has failed on both accounts, but particularly over the budget management. We do not have a financial crisis in OUSD. We have a management crisis. And I think it's really important that we start to deal with the official numbers and the facts. Since 2013, state funding to OUSD is up by 50%. But at the same time, while state funding has been increasing, this school board has lowered per pupil spending within OUSD. This has been a problem with the choices this school board has made. We started this school year with $70 million in our beginning fund balance. That means we had a reserve of $70 million there to be used. We don't need any more cuts this year or even for next year, no matter what the state budget is next year. We have that money sitting in our reserve right now. And I think we need to end this deficit thinking and this scarcity model. And we need a school board that is going to reprioritize the budget and the dollars that we have. Dollars should not be left in reserve if they can be used for our students directly. And secondly, the other thing that we really need to reprioritize is this year, OUSD is spending $85 million on three things: the OUSD PD, consultants, and outside contracts. I would look to immediately reprioritize those dollars and put those directly into our school sites, providing direct services. This is where I think that we need to look. We have the money there. It is a question of will and priorities. And just lastly, we need a community engagement process around the budget so the community can then decide how these newfound resources will be used. We can do it. We need quality public schools in every neighborhood, and we can fund that.
Thank you, Mike. If we could have Victor come up next.
Thank you. Again, my name is Victor Valerio. I am a project engineer, and I am the son of immigrants, first generation, who came to Oakland from Mexico. And I have walked in the students' shoes, and I'm the byproduct of the Oakland School District. On that, growing up, many of us have grown up in the last 4 years, we've seen budget cuts in good economic times and in bad economic times. And if there's anything that's been shown for it, is it hasn't worked. The fear of supposed crisis of less revenue is not the issue. It's mismanagement. It's redirecting money where it should be directed, which is the school sites. And all economic indicators and studies have shown that revenue generation and academic and professional growth has proven to succeed. That means we got to invest in our school sites. We got to provide the support. We talk about support, but we're not really providing support to the teachers and to the administrators at the school sites. Quite frankly, in the last 20 years, we've had budget cuts. The schools aren't succeeding because of those budget cuts. They're succeeding because of the passion and the teachers going above and beyond, putting in the work to make sure the students succeed at the schools. what we need to do is, regardless of the budget situation, which I'm quite sure is going to be an item people are going to be talking about soon enough, is we got to increase revenue. We got to invest in the school sites. And that means we need to work on student enrollment, higher student preparation for success rates, marketing for future students, maintenance, improving the infrastructure to decrease the digital divide that exists in our neighborhoods. And more importantly, we really got to start taking seriously how we're managing the budget. And we need to start creating generation for revenue, and at the same time, also consolidating programs and go with the ones that work and expand the ones that have been proven successful. There isn't a shortfall. It's just there needs to be a vision built. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Clifford.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was actually looking at a part of the question that really makes a lot of sense to me, and that's how do we succeed regardless of the budget deficit? And the one thing I want to say is I think we need to place priority on making sure the superintendent has the oversight that she needs in all situations. Number two, we need to monitor student engagement to make sure that students are being successful at what they do. And number three, a way that I think this would work, and it would address multiple learning, how people learn differently, multiple learning differences, is how if we could have showcases at least once a month for the community. And in order to also address the distance learning issue, we can have it always in a blended learning situation where the person would actually present it through technology. This would give us, we would actually accomplish two things. Number one, we would accomplish making certain that individuals knew how to use the technology. And number two, we would have oversight of what the superintendent is doing, working with the principals, who's working with the teachers, who's working with the students to make sure that the students are at grade level. I think those approaches might be somewhat drastic, but I think drastic situations call for drastic measures. If we're looking at a deficit in the budget, we have to come up with ways to actually still have the learning take place, even though you don't have the finances to perhaps pay for it to happen. But we as individuals, as teachers, and I go back to the fact that I am a classroom teacher presently. I left administration to go back into the classroom to use all of my skill as a teacher and administrator, now as a teacher in public school.
Thank you. Thank you. Christina.
Thank you, Viola. Well, there's no doubt that public education is going to feel the financial hit of the pandemic. Currently, for this fiscal year, 42 cents out of every dollar in real and business personal property tax, that's both secure and unsecured, funds schools. And that is going to take a big hit in our revenue for the fiscal period 2020-21. I think that what makes me a competitive candidate is that I have a background of 15 years in the nonprofit world. When you arrive to a nonprofit, you arrive with a purse filled with dreams. And in the nonprofit world, to make your dreams come true, you need to learn to ask for money. I needed to learn how to write grants, and I became very successful at it. I needed to learn how to approach funders and ask them for money because I wanted to make my dreams come true. So I have 12 years with grant writing experience, and I also have established good standing relationships with funders, which as your elected official, I'll be happy to knock on their doors and ask for resources. And I'm currently doing it right now. You know, we are supporting almost 900 parents. I'm part of a coalition called Parent Voices, and we are a coalition of 10 parents working really hard in East Oakland, you know, to make sure that our families are receiving the resources that they need during COVID-19. But one of the things that I want to make clear is that distance learning is not going to work well. And in my example, just to give you my example, so I'm a mother of 4 boys, two
2 of my boys are special learners. I stayed home and I still have to telework from home 40 hours per week. My husband goes out to work because he's considered an essential worker. So how is that working for us? It's not working for us. My children receive maybe 30 to an hour of lecture per week. So that's all that they're giving. And it's not going to work. You know, it might work for a few students, but not for the majority of students. And I don't expect it to work for the students in my district. So with moving forward with this, we really need to find out how we're going to concentrate those resources to our students. Sorry, Viola.
Thank you. There is time. We've gone past a little over an hour and a half now. So there is a little time, and I would like to encourage you now to be very succinct, to take 1 minute for your closing statement. I know you're tired, and you've signed up for an incredible ride now to run for office. It's not easy. And all of us that are involved in this effort very much salute you for that. So please take no more than 1 minute for a closing statement where you include anything that you think the public should know about you or your ideas. And we're going to be ruthless in terms of cutting you off. And we don't mean to be rude, but in fairness to everyone. So we'll give you, I think so Josh will be calling out the names. And then he'll give out a close out afterward. Okay?
Okay. First up is Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Viola. And yeah, it's been a long night, but I mean, it's nothing compared to a school board meeting. So if we can't hang with this, then we shouldn't even be running. So yes, I think Oakland is just such an amazing town. So many passionate, brilliant, diverse people. There's no limit to our potential. During the strike last year, I was helping to organize high school students from Oakland Tech to volunteer at the Solidarity Schools. And it was so moving how the community came together and folks showed up for our students and our teachers. So this election can be another such moment when people come together. Let's start having honest, difficult conversations, but stop the acrimony. Let's put our students first and set aside the agendas that are only about adults. Let's take control of our democracy and reject outside wealthy donors. I think tonight has been a great step forward in that direction. So thank you, Viola, Josh, Jessica, and everybody else who put this together.
All right.
Thank you. Next up is Alicia. I apologize. Sorry, Alicia. Give me 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to thank the organizers for this amazing event. It's great to be with people who care so much about Oakland Unified School District and especially about our children. I will always put students and families first in Oakland. I've spent the last years tirelessly working for our schools and our kids, and I don't intend to stop. I hope that the community has faith in me and will elect me to this position. I believe I'm the best suited. However, if I'm not elected, you'll still see me at all those board meetings. I will still be just as committed because this issue is too important. Our kids' lives matter. They need us as adults to stand up for them, for their education. We can no longer have this top-down system, but we need to get together and listen to the community and really meet everyone where they're at to meet the needs of our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Sharice, you're up.
Thank you. I just want to say that thank you for this evening. It's been really great. It's been really fabulous. But I also want to say that I love Oakland. I'm from Oakland, and I love our students in Oakland. And I want to ensure that they get the best education that they possibly can from here. We have 37,000 beautiful minds, and we need to be able to support each and every one of them. And so with that, I believe in the power of the students. I believe in the perseverance of our families, and I believe in the economic prosperity and inclusion through our education that they will receive here in Oakland. So if there's anything that you do November 3rd and leading up to November 3rd is vote early and vote often and continue to vote. Have someone else and support someone else to vote as well. And you can vote for me. Please vote for me in District 3. It is my community, and I've lived there for many decades at this point in time, telling my age a little bit. But we love you, Oakland loves you, and we will always be here to support you, and I will always be here to vote in your interest.
Thank you. Maya, you're up. Maya.
Yes. Again, my name is Maya Edgerly, and I just want to just thank all the organizers and just thank all the Oaklanders that have came on tonight to support us in this effort to making Oakland and ensuring that Oakland students have everything that they need to become great, and because they are our future. And I also just want to just say that I've dedicated my life ever since I graduated from college, which was in 2012, when I came back home and I saw the predicament of the community, and especially students who have been impacted, who are those disenfranchised students. You could rest assured that I will be the voice of those students who are disenfranchised. I've worked with students, and I've also have my own organization, a 501c3, that has dedicated. I've written grants. I've been acknowledged by the Oakland Rotary as far as the work that I have done. I'm in Oakland Unified School District, and one thing that I could rest assured that if you vote for me for District 3, you will have an authentic voice on the board of Oakland Unified School District. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
I also want to thank the organizers for the opportunity to be with you all this evening. It's been a very interesting night, and I appreciated that. Teaching reading is table stakes for a school district. I think this is something that we need to really address immediately and with a great deal of urgency. Literacy is the way that students access every other subject that they study through the course of their academic career. So if they can't read, they won't be able to access the rest of the curriculum. So Oakland really needs to focus on building a truly sufficient, excellent reading program. I agree with Mike Hutchinson. I think every neighborhood in this city needs an excellent and high quality school, so that there are no schools that people have to avoid choosing because they are afraid that their kids won't get a high quality education in their own neighborhood. And I appreciate what Cliff Thompson said about teaching reading. I think his success in his classroom, I think that's something that we should try to duplicate across the entire city of Oakland. Thank you. Go to markforoakland.com.
I might be on.
Yes. Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Hutchinson, and again, I'm running for school board in District 5. I want to thank Oakland Debates, Joshua, Viola, and everyone who put this together and really giving us an opportunity to start sharing our platforms in this campaign. And I want to encourage everyone can go to my Facebook page, Mike Hutchinson for Oakland School Board District 5, for more information on some of the things that I talked about. I really believe that every neighborhood deserves a quality public school. And I think we as a community have the capacity to make that happen. It's going to take willpower and hard work, but I really think I have a track record of bringing people together and fighting for these issues. This is our election. With 4 of the 7 school board seats up, we've already forced the incumbents out of office where they're not running for re-election. The community is now poised to regain control of our school board and our school district. So please, everyone, encourage your family, your friends, everyone who lives in Oakland to pay attention to this election. Both school board and city council will decide the direction of Oakland over the next 4 years. And if we as a community can come together, we can make better schools for ourselves.
Thank you. Jorge.
Thank you. We can't completely close the achievement gap until we close the investment gap in our schools. We don't need excuses based on digital divides, income disparities, or English speaking or not. I want to thank our wonderful teachers and administrators. Regardless of our big ideas and passion, our teachers show up every day and deal with whatever challenge confronts them. I will be a courageous voice for you and District 5 parents, students, and families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sheila Pope Lawrence. I'm running for school board for District Area 5. Thank you, everybody who put this together. A vote for Sheila Pope Lawrence is a vote for someone who understands you and the community. I will listen to your concerns. I will help you work with your child's school to find solutions. A vote for me is a vote for transparency. A vote for me is a vote for someone who is dedicated to every child in Oakland. You can please visit my website at popelawrence.com for more information about me, my story. You can also follow me on Twitter at Sheila, SHELAW 14, and Instagram at Sheila, SHELAW 4 OUSD. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your dedication. I look forward to hearing from you and working with you soon. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next up is Christina.
Hi, so yes, Christina Molina running for District 7, and I'm going to share a personal story with you. You know, the reason why I decided to run for school board is because I saw the pipeline from school to prison on my son, Ketsa. He is 7 years old. He is being diagnosed with ADHD, impulsivity, and it has also behavioral problems due to his condition. I noticed that for Ketsa, constantly being, put, to sit down crisscross applesauce, and listen to a 30-minute lecture from the teacher was not going to work for him. And it was making him incredibly violent and aggressive. And I realized, and I imagine, I try to empathize with my child and put myself on his shoes. And I realized that my son was every day being molded to fit on a size, 4 shoe when he was really a size 7. And there was that constant grinding of trying to make him be like other students that was causing my son to be violent. And that's why I'm running for District 7, to make those changes.
Thank you. Clifford.
Yes, I would like to, first of all, thank all of the organizers for this event. And in addition, I want to thank those of you who logged in to hear the voices of each one of us. That is so important to me. Number one, I'm speaking to you as a parent. Number 2, a single parent. Number 3, a single Black parent. I'm speaking to you as an administrator, a teacher, and a teacher who has gone back into the classroom and who lives his life by 5 pillars: relationship, community, culture, structure, and consistency. People might ask, how did I get the results I got? By doing exactly that. So thank you very much. And a vote for me will put someone on the school board who has your back. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Victor, you're up.
Thanks. First of all, I want to thank everybody for organizing this and making it happen, and everybody who was part of this. This is a great, great moment to share ideas, and I'm excited to share the ideas and the visions with everybody else who believes in Oakland. I am a byproduct of Oakland. I know the inner workings and the obstacles the school board is going to face in the coming year. I will work, I will put in the time, I will learn and listen. I will share the vision for Oakland schools to be a parent's first choice. And on that, a vote for me in District 7 is a vote to push the school board on the right track to improve itself and be better for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would love right now if Jessica, you've been monitoring everything folks have been saying online. So if you could just maybe give us a little, what have folks been saying? Give us a little feeling for that before Viola closes us out.
For sure. Just as having a Skyline student and an Oakland student, being able to see these comments and being engaged and seeing what our people, our own community saying about what's going on and meeting just the candidates. It's, first of all, to start off, it was amazing to have all these candidates be able to share their experiences and what they want for the future. Many community members, educators, students, parents, teachers were on this, and we're also showing their voice on how Oakland's education should be rebuilt again, and how there should be so many different ways to communicate with students, because right now at this moment, students are the most important thing. You're running right now for the position to make decisions on the future generations. So that's for candidates. So please remember that all the decisions you make and that you're visioning right now at this moment is what you're going to create for the next future generations. So the student voice is very high in these types of community events, which is amazing to show what the future is showing for later on. But I'm very thankful to be part of this. I saw everybody commenting, and it's just, there are a lot of comments that are going to surprise you, but that's politics, man. That's always going to be like that. So, at the end of the day, continue your run, and I'm so excited to see what's up next.
Thank you. Okay, Viola.
I think that all of us have that are in this conversation together with you. We all feel a responsibility to seek excellence in the education of our children, regardless of whatever are their unique circumstances. And that has a wide range. And I think this community is looking for outcomes, accountability, and respect, in the sense that there's room for everyone around the table to be part of the decisions, to understand the process, what the budget, what do these numbers mean? There are hundreds of streams of money that come into a school, and how the decisions are made about those funds. But fundamentally, we really want to know what's happening with our students. And yes, the pandemic has highlighted many of the issues that many of you have known for a long time. And perhaps it opens the door for new partners to also enter the conversation and help us seek some solutions. So I salute you again for your willingness to make yourself vulnerable, to put yourself in a fishbowl, open to public scrutiny, and willing to learn more about the job that you are preparing to take on for yourself, and to engage in the community. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be of some value and help in this process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh, if I could kick it over to you.
Yeah, and I just want to say this is an offer to the community. This has just been doing our best shot to start this conversation, start this debate. We're in a crazy time when we can't do the door knocking, we can't do the house parties, we can't even go to a room and have meetings together. So we need to use these digital tools. And I would just like to offer any individuals or groups or organizations who want to create further debates, further conversations, in particular around the school board race, reach out to me. debateoakland@gmail.com is the email address. And let's see what we can do. And I'm going to say one last thing. I just want to thank everyone in the community and who's been a part of this. My family during COVID times has started baking challah bread. So in the Jewish tradition, challah is how we celebrate the Sabbath. And every week we've baked more and more and more. This Friday, we're going to bake 60 of them. So I want to invite you, if you would like a challah, we love to bake them for our community. You can go get on the list at challahforhumanity.com. That's CHALLAH for humanity.com. It's our way of thanking you for being here. And we'll just let you know, if there are too many people for a week, we'll let you know when it's your week. So thank you everyone so much. Have a great night. And this is just the beginning of the conversation. Hopefully in the future, we'll do some district by district debates. And, we're here to empower anyone else who wants to create these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.